Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for coming for this webinar. I hope that I am audible. But still, for quick audible check, I'd request you to comment in the chat box if I am audible or not.
Audible.
It seems that I am audible. Thank you very much for your responses. And once again, I welcome you. And I highly appreciate all of your time. That's why I'll not take much of your time and I will start the session very soon. But before we start the session, let me mention you that this webinar has been organized by Alpha Consulting Engineers India Pvt. Limited. It's a consulting firm based in Kolkata and providing its services across the globe. Along with cost consulting, we are committed to continuous development of construction professionals. We provide hand-holding support to become MRICS and become a chartered qualifications. I'm pretty sure and quite confident that after the session, you'll be having lots of information with you because we are having an amazing mentor with us who has helped hundreds of aspirants to become MRICs successfully. So I encourage you, all of the participants, to be ready with your questions and doubts for the question and answer sessions. We'll have Q&A section two times, and you are allowed to chat or drop your queries on Q&A box that is available on the top right corner on your screen. Let me also mention you, we have two more speakers at our panel discussion session. So all the participants can be very much excited and to get cleared all the doubts. And also mention you that all the participants who will be with us till the end of this session are eligible to have a CPD certificate. Let me start with the topic. As Sir has been already shared, the topic name, Road to MRICS Without Tears. And I am excited to hear from our Professor Emeritus Vinod Nakra. He is an ex-chief engineer, Indian Army, and he holds fellowships of reputed organizations like Institute of Engineers, the Institute of Valor, the Institute of Surveyors, Institute of Town Planner, and of course, Fellowship of Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyor. He is an APC counselor, trainer, and assessor. He has more than 4 decades of rich experience in construction industry and helped hundreds of aspirants to achieve their chartered qualification. Thank you very much, sir, for coming to this session. We are obliged to you. You can start the session now, sir.
Thank you, Namamita, and a very good morning and greetings of the day. A hearty welcome to all the participants on the road to MRICS without tears. We wanted to start this session with a small poll, but I think we'll wait for a while, and I request Namamita to do so after some time. Now, we all know the challenges that the construction industry is facing. We'll talk about that in a bit and the importance that we attach to this global certification, which is provided by RICS. Today's session will be conducted in 3 parts. At the end of each part, we shall try and answer any questions that you may have put in the chat box. Part 1, we look at the challenges that the industry faces, the need for a professional approach, which is global in nature, which RICS provides, the entry requirements for MRICS, the process of final assessment interview, and the various competencies that are needed to fulfill our role in the industry. In part 2, we'll apprise you all with the various submissions of documents that are required by RICS for final assessment, and the role of counselor in your journey. In the last part, we'll open a window on the career progression you can expect based on MRICS designation. For this, we have a panel of experienced professionals in the field. Now, let's move on to the learning outcomes of this particular session. As you will see on the slide, we have listed out broadly 4 learning outcomes. We'll provide you with total clarity about the RICS guide for assessment of professional competency, or APC in short, an overview of senior professional route for those who have enough service in the organization to go straight for the MRICS qualification without any training. RICS competencies for construction and quantity surveyor pathways and project management pathways. The role of counselor in the journey of APC, as well as the journey towards the senior professional route. And lastly, how RICS Chartered Surveyor Qualification can benefit the career progression. Let's move to part 1. Now, in this, we will talk about the challenges that the industry faces. We'll also look at what the final assessment interview is like. What are the RICS requirements for APC route and also senior professional route, and the pathways and competencies. Some question answers will also be taken out of this. Now, one of the major studies that was conducted in the United Kingdom some years ago, it came out with some startling facts about lack of enough productivity in construction industry, and they came to the conclusion that you can't afford to allow the difficulties that are posed by site conditions and the structure which is fragmented of the industry, where people are coming from various different backgrounds and then they combine and they form a project team in the construction. They cannot afford not to get the best from the people who can create value for clients and profits for the companies. So this study is a very legendary study which brings out many factors based on which the RICS has tried to evolve its own structure of conducting assessments and giving the designation of MRICS based on various technical as well as mandatory competencies. Now, what are the challenges that are faced by the construction industry? And some would say these are also opportunities. Now, let us step back and look at the challenges that the industry faces globally. In fact, construction domain, unlike other industries, does not enjoy the status of an industry in many countries, including India, though it employs the largest number of people after agriculture. Due to the advancement of technology and automation, manufacturing, which was known to employ a large workforce, has been overtaken by the construction industry. While these challenges are real, as I said, many would consider them as opportunities. Now, do you know that 69% of the home buyers say that poor contractor performance is the single largest reason for underperforming projects, as per the study conducted by KPMG. 35% of construction professionals' time is spent on non-productive activities, such as dealing with mistakes, rework, and project coordination. 60% of general contractors see the problems with contract management, coordination, and communication between project teams, or the key, which is a key to reduce productivity. We know that 17% of global carbon footprint is caused or generated by mining and construction industry, which are both interrelated. 40% of the global energy emissions or CO2 emissions are caused by buildings alone. And construction and mining sectors, they are responsible for 62% of inflation since the year 2000. We know that $94 trillion worth of infrastructure investments are needed during the next 20 years. This is 30 times India's GDP. Can you imagine? The younger generation is less and less interested in working in the construction industry. The number of workers under the age of 24 who are entering the construction industry has come down by 35% between 2005 and 2020. And the average backlog of projects for general contractors is about 9.3 months globally. 73% of the projects are failing or looking at failures in the construction management platforms. Job costing is 72%, project estimating 66%, improved accuracy 47%, and process standardization or automation 39%. So what is the reason for this state of affairs? The reason is that 92% construction companies are reporting they are being somewhat concerned about their employees having adequate skill levels. Now let us look at why RICS. Now, as a globally recognized professional body, everything that Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors or RICS does is designed to effect a positive change in the built environment and natural environment because of its competency-based global qualification. A 155-year-old organization which is based in the UK, RICS has 150,000 highly qualified trainees and professionals and offices in every significant financial market. Though the global standards are supposed to be leading to professional progression and trusted data and insight, RICS promotes and enforces the highest professional standards in the development and management of land, real estate, construction, and infrastructure. In doing so, the RICS can motivate or innovate and progress the development of spaces and places so they are fit for future generations, looking at sustainability in addition to the challenges that are faced in the present. Now, this brings us to the need to understand what are the entry requirements for RICS. Now, RICS, they recognize a mix of academic and professional qualifications and relevant experience, which provide the skills and levels of competence to become what we call a chartered surveyor. Now, before we proceed further, can I request Nomamita to please take the poll of
Yes.
the number of participants who are present?
Yes, sir. The poll is available on screen. I request all the participants to participate on the poll so that it is easy for us. Please respond to the poll on screen. Please respond to the next poll. Years of experience post after degree or diploma BSc. Please type your responses. Please type your responses. We have received almost, yes, almost everyone has responded to our poll. Thank you very much.
Okay. I will continue. You can compile the results and let me know later.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Now let us look at the entry requirements and qualifications and experience. Now broadly, there are two major routes to attaining the designation of MRICS. One is the APC or Assessment of Professional Competence route, and second is Senior Professional route. We shall be discussing APC at length in this presentation, but we'll also give an overview of the Senior Professional route. Now, you'll see on the slide that there are certain data which has been taken from RICS.org/APC. As per the RICS Assessment and Professional Competency Guide, there are 4 entry requirements depending upon the type of qualification and duration of relevant experience. I emphasize the word relevant experience. The details of structural training and continuing professional development or CPD is laid down to gain an entry into the process of qualification. Now, an RICS accredited degree is a synonymous with highest quality of education, which is benchmarked as per international standards in education and teaching and is therefore valued by companies. Globally, over 500 specialized built environment courses are accredited by RICS. What is RICS accredited degree is given in the RICS.org/APC. For India, the programs which are run by RICS School of Built Environment is an RICS accredited degree. In Sri Lanka also, there are degrees which are BSc in this particular field are accredited by RICS, and similarly for each country you will see on the website of RICS all the degrees are listed which are recognized or accredited by the RICS. Now let us look at the entry and qualification requirements one by one graphically. Now if you have an RICS accredited degree, no structured training, no experience, but only a degree, then you require 24 months or 200 days of structured training, which means a person who doesn't have experience but has got this degree has to undergo about 2 years or 200 days of structured training and a CPD of 96 hours. The other is, if you have 5 years of experience, then you will have a training of 12 months or 100 days and a CPD of 48 hours. If you have an RICS degree which is accredited by RICS, 10 years of experience, you don't require any structured training. CPD is 48 hours. And if you have a graduate degree with 5 years of experience, no structured training is required and CPD is 48 hours. Next, coming to senior assessment route. Now, for those who have a lot of experience, if you're a graduate with 10 years of experience, with 5 years of experience, but if you have got advanced responsibilities as a senior leader in a particular organization, you don't require any APC type of submissions, the case study, everything is different. Or you are an academician or teaching somewhere or a specialist assessment, and if you have a postgraduate degree of 5 years with experience and graduate with 10 years, advanced responsibility in specialist areas, you can apply for MRICS through senior professional route, which is different from the APC route. So, what are the stages of senior professional route? There are basically 5 stages. Firstly, your eligibility is checked whether you are fulfilling the criteria of qualification and experience that is laid down. It is vetted, application is vetted, it is reviewed, and it is confirmed whether your profile is fit for assessment. Then there is an ethics requirement where you have to complete the RICS module on ethics and professional practice, and then you submit your documents which give evidence of your experience to the assessors to prepare for final interview, and the final interview process is then conducted by a panel, and if you are competent, you get the MRICS. So MRICS final interview, we'll start with that and then we'll come backwards and see what submissions are required. So after your preliminary submissions, which are cleared by your counselor, based on your qualifications, experience, training and CPD record, you are ready to appear for the final interview. What does the interview look like? Purpose of the interview is very simple. Are you able to express yourself in clear oral terms in the interview? Can you demonstrate in support of your written submissions your understanding of the knowledge that you have gained and the competencies that you have achieved during your training? Do you have an acceptable understanding of the role and responsibilities of a chartered surveyor? And can you apply that professional and technical skills to benefit those who employ your services, which means your employers? Will they be benefited by the application of your technical and other skills that are required? So these are the purposes for which the interview is conducted, the final assessment interview is conducted. Basically, the process is it's about 60 minutes. There is a panel of 2 to 3 RICS members who are themselves trained and selected for this role. One of them will perform the role of chairperson and will be responsible for the process of interview. And at the interview, you will be questioned on your presentation and case study, your final assessment submission, including CPD record. There are certain aspects which are also mentioned on the slide, the broader aspects of your experience, knowledge, ethics, latest RICS rules of conduct, and current issues which are of concern to the profession. So you should be aware of that also as to what is happening in the world. The panel have already gone through the submissions in advance. So therefore, the time available to you to make the presentation is very, very crucial. And this time is generally in terms of preliminaries about 2 to 3 minutes, and about 10 minutes you will get for the case study presentation. Then questions are posed to you on the presentation by the panel for 10 minutes, and then discussion takes place on your overall experience, your competency, your CPD for 25 minutes, and then the chairperson can also raise some questions on rules of conduct, professional practice, and last few minutes are spent on that. So this is how the interview goes. Now, let us now move to the next important point that has to do with the various pathways that are there. Now, there are 22 pathways of MRICS, but we are mostly interested in the construction industry in 3 pathways. Quantity surveying and construction is one pathway, which is most popular. Project management is another pathway, and infrastructure is another pathway. So we'll discuss at length about quantity surveying in construction and project management pathways and look at what kind of competencies are expected from the candidates who are appearing. Now, level 1, basically there are mandatory competencies and there are technical competencies. Everybody across the 22 pathways has to have the same requirement of mandatory competencies. So what is shown on the slide now is the level 1 of the mandatory competencies, where basically you are supposed to have read about accounting, about business planning, conflict avoidance, data management, diversity, inclusion, team working, and sustainability, etc. These are level 1, means just basic knowledge you should have. So if you have read about them or attended any webinars or even the material that RICS keeps floating on the website, this is good enough for you for say to claim that you know about these requirements. Level 1, basic knowledge and understanding. Then you come to level 2. So, and level 3. Client care and communication, negotiation, health and safety are level 2, where you should have a deeper understanding. And level 3 is only one competency, that is ethics, rules of conduct and professionalism, where you should be able to advise and then take the decision accordingly. Quantity surveys and construction pathway, these are various things that are required, and these are mentioned here. So these are some of the rules or some of the roles that you will fulfill about capital expenditure phase, feasibility study, design stage, construction stage, and revenue expenditure. These are some of the requirements that a cost manager or a quantity surveyor will have to undertake. So when you start a project, you require a lot of money to be spent on capital expenditure. And then once the asset is ready, the money comes in or comes back to you as revenue or profits or income. When you extend something or refurbish a particular asset or maintain it or demolish the facility, the construction industry is global and extends across all real estate and infrastructure markets. So quantity surveys, construction pathways are basically, these are the sectors in which one works. So you can be working in any of these sectors. In the sectors that are shown, you could be working in infrastructure sectors like airports and railways and waterways, or any of those. You could be working in process industries, refineries, and the fields of work could be heavy civil, or railways, petrochemical, oil, gas installations, mechanical, electrical installations, or any of these. And accordingly, their competencies are given. The number of competencies at level 3, there is one, as I said, it's about ethics and professionalism. Level 2, I have mentioned there are 3 of them, and level 1 has been given. Technical, there are 6 competencies. We'll see each one of them. And then on optional competency, you have to choose 2 from the list that is given. Level 3, as I said, you should be able to give reasoned advice and depth of knowledge. Level 2 is application of knowledge and understanding. And level 1 is basic knowledge and understanding. Now, these are the core competencies that you all who are applying for construction and quantity surveying pathway, commercial management of construction or design economics, depending on your role, construction technology and environmental services, basically these are HVAC or MEP services. Environmental services are the same, like what keeps the environment within the asset or within the building very good, that is not too cold and not too hot. So these are known as environmental services, which air conditioning, heating and things like that. contract practice, procurement and tendering, project finance, quantification and costings, or measurements and things like that. These are the core competencies that you must have if you are going for QS and construction pathways. And they are all supposed to be at level 3, which means you should be capable of giving reasoned advice to your management. Optional competencies, level 2, you have to pick up any 2 of these, which are the capital allowances or either of the following which are given. You can pick up any 2 of these. There are a number of them which are listed and which are supposed to be understood. So depending upon your role, you can pick up whichever competency suits your role and say you have achieved that after having got the experience or training if you are due for that. They are also the same. So out of them, only 2 have to be picked up. So project management, again, mandatory are same for this pathway also. As I said, for every pathway, the mandatory are same, which I mentioned earlier. And in the technical, the core has got 8 competencies. 5 are supposed to be level 3 and level 2 actually are 3. So by mistake it is mentioned level 3 again. It is supposed to be level 2, this one. That is, so 5 are those and 3 are the ones which are level 2. And optional, you have to choose any 2. And what are the level 3 competencies? They are all mentioned now here. Mostly they are similar to the other one. Then optional, you have to pick up these competencies. Any one from here. These are all available on the website and they can be shared with you separately also by Alpha. Now, we have come to the end of part 1. So if there are any questions in the chat box or otherwise, then we can spend some 5-7 minutes on this. Namamita?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for the insightful session. I think all the participants had got a overview of how the process is this for to become an MRICS, and I'm pretty sure that participants has a lot more questions for you to know from you. So I would request the participants to go to Q&A session, which is at the top right corner besides reactions, or or you can write even in the chat box what are your queries. Please, our speaker is ready to answer you and clear your doubts.
So Namamita, I may not be able to see the chat box, so you can read and...
Yeah, I will read. Already we have received 2 questions. One is, I am 25 years and contract administrator. Can I go for senior professional route? Yeah, he is asking for senior professional route. He has 25 years of experience and he is a contract administrator.
So I want to know what is his qualification.
Yeah, he is a graduate. He is a graduate in yes.
Yeah, he can go for a senior professional route. There is no problem, and the details can be shared separately. So he can communicate, and we can guide as to what are the requirements. A senior professional route professional has to submit about 3 case studies on leadership and on management of resources and management of human resources. So their case studies are different from the case study which is meant for the APC candidates, and they have to prove their advanced knowledge and leadership qualities in the interview. So they will have to submit accordingly. Otherwise, they'll have to submit the entire experience that they have got in their life as to what all they did, and accordingly they will be assessed. So they can be guided. He has very much a chance of getting MRICS based on whatever I have said earlier and now what I have explained.
Okay, sir. Another question is from Santosh VM. He is asking, he is a civil engineer with 3 years of diploma and 15 years of experience in QS and tendering. Is he eligible for become an MRICS? He's asking.
Now, this is a problem that a person who is not a graduate engineer will not be taken for the senior professional route. Otherwise, he could have qualified for senior professional route if he was a graduate. Even AMI would have helped. But if he is a diploma, then he has to do structured training, which means the person has to undergo, depending upon the experience and number of years, either 200 days or 100 days of structured training, and then only he can be guided towards MRICS.
Okay, sir. And another question is from Subra Rao. He is asking, he has retired and can he go for senior professional route, but he has not mentioned his experience, number of experience, but he has mentioned that he has retired.
Retired is not an issue. The qualification has to be there. One is that experience and qualification both are looked at. So depending upon qualification that a person has, the person can apply. So what I can suggest is that the person can share the qualification that
So
a person has.
he's writing he has more than 36 years of experience. He is an BE MTech. B and also he is an PE from mechanical.
Very much possible. He'll get it within no time. I think with all his experience and leadership qualities, he'll get the MRICS. If he's able to submit his case studies, which are 3 in number, depending upon his leadership and advanced knowledge, can get it.
Okay, so we have another query from Ashish Kumar. He is asking, he has done his MBA in CPM from RICS and he is having 6 years of experience in project management and doing commercial interior fit out works. So is he eligible for MRICS?
Yeah, being an RICS accredited degree, he does not require any structured training, and he has got enough. He's got also a graduate and postgraduate qualification, so he can apply for this particular thing, depending upon whether it is project management route or quantity survey. It will depend upon the relevant experience that he has got over the last 6 years. So he can look at the competencies which I mentioned and see which one is closer to his role in the last few years. Most probably it will be project management if that is what he has done.
Okay, so we have another question from Shaikh Abdul. So he is asking, after accredited degree, if you have previous experience, will it be considered?
Yeah, it is considered, and that can be shared separately as to what is the requirement that can be considered. Yeah, I had mentioned also in the slide, if you remember. Yeah.
Okay, so another question is from Rivati. Yes. He is asking, should we submit 48 hours of CPD in preliminary assessment itself, or we can submit in final assessment?
Actually, there are 2 types of CPDs. One is a formal, the other is informal. So it has to be in the last 12 months. So last 12 months, suppose there is some time in the next, after the preliminary, suppose there are 3 months remaining, you can submit and say that this is ongoing. So what is considered finally will be before the interview, before you give the final submission, you should have got 48 hours. So if you have done, let us say 40 hours, then 8 hours you say is ongoing, that is considered, not a problem. So preliminary, a person can say that I will complete the remainder CPD by so and so date. So it can be considered. Yeah.
Okay, another question is from Avis. So he is asking for senior professional route. He's asking, senior professional route is decided based on position, role, or on what? On or experience on what?
On everything. So I had mentioned that your relevant experience has to be there in a particular pathway. So your pathway may be facility management, then you have to go for facility management. Pathway may be infrastructure, or pathway may be based on the QS and construction or project management. So whichever pathway you select, you pick up the competencies that are required. Those are same. Competencies are not different. It's just that the your assessment is based on your experience in leadership role in a position where you will have to showcase three case studies of what you did and how you solved some problems that were there, which showcase your ability to resolve problems and also to show your leadership skills or human resource management skills and resource managements, which are using other resources. So their details are available, so you can easily explain those. So based on all these things, they are seeing how you fit into this particular designation of the MRICs. So, Nomamita, I think what we'll do is we'll take on the rest of the questions later.
Yes.
We will continue with this part 2.
Yes.
Otherwise, we'll run out of time. Okay?
Yes, we have lots of questions, but we can take it later. And also later they can email to you or to us.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the answer, sir. Hello.
Part of your submissions in the MRICs. Now remember, RICS is looking for evidence that you can do the relevant job at the required level. In addition to showing your abilities in individual competencies, they should provide the assessors with an overview of your training and experience, the work that you are doing, and the levels you are working at. Now for that, I will just summarize that there is a mandatory competency submission that you do of 1500 words and technical competencies of 4000 words, in which you have to give a brief statement. Each of these, if they are level 3 or summary of 1, 2 and 3 level, most important and crucial requirement is that you should be capable of explaining as to how and where you achieved level 1, level 2 or level 3 of the particular competency. What is level 1? How the knowledge and understanding was gained. You should link it with your record of CPDs. You may have attended some webinars, or you may have, informally you may have read some material online or otherwise. Level 2, range of experience, real life examples can be given. When you were working at so-and-so place, you found this was, this was a problem and how you solved a particular problem. And level 3, statement of advice. You gave some advice personally to an organization where you are working, which led to a decision being taken based on options that you considered. So this is how you have to explain your, there is a chart which you have to fulfill and write down based on real evidence of what you did, not theoretical. So structured training is for those who don't have much experience, as I mentioned. And therefore, we will not dwell too much time on this. And training and experience, as I said, for category 1, you have an RICS degree, 5 years of experience, 24 months or 400 days. Sorry, this is not 400. This is 200 days and 100 days. Not 400 and 200. It is 200 and 100 days. And then this is what it is. Category 3, no structured training and bachelor's. This is what it is. Continuing professional development, you have to show attending seminars, meetings, academic course, informal reading. So 50% of the CPD, if it is 48 hours, so 24 hours has to be informal and 24 has to be with learning outcomes, where you have a proper course you have attended. Like this particular session is a CPD, where it is formal, because there are learning outcomes here. So any other CPD which will be conducted by Alpha, which I'm sure they will do, they will give you a CPT. So you can say I attended so and so seminar or so and so meeting or webinar, and therefore I have in the last 12 months I have gained this experience about some of the competencies that you may be required to undertake. After MRICS, also every year you have to do 20 hours of CPD each year, even after MRICS. So it's a continuous professional development. It should be structured manner, reflect learning, informal sources, structured training. As I said, 50% is formal and 50% informal. What is the case study that APC candidates have to submit? I will dwell on it a little more now. Maximum 3,000 words are required and must be on a project or projects that you have been personally involved in the last 2 years prior to assessment. Suppose you are supposed to be appearing for an interview in 2024, then sometime in July, let us say. So from July 2022 to July 2000 or June 2024, last 24 months, this case study should cover the period of your employment, not before that. Okay, so accordingly, this has to be submitted, and there is a structure available as to what all it should contain. The project may have started 2 years ago, but your case study should reference your involvement in the past 2 years. It must provide critical appraisal of the project together with outline of your learning outcomes and important evidence of competencies you have achieved. Case study must give detailed evidence of your ability to work competently and to apply the knowledge of your relevant pathway. You will use this case study to make the 10-minute presentation in the final interview, which I mentioned earlier. And you should check what activities, to be discussed in the case study within the last 24 months, working back from the date you submit. So assessors will be looking for you to have chosen a real-life project that you have been involved in or have led, or consider a project process where you have to do or deal with key issues. Analyze the problem that you face, any challenges that you face in any particular project, and how you overcame those. And this must relate to the competencies of your pathway, whether it is contract, practice, or whether it is financial control, or whether it is construction, technology, or procurement and tendering, or any of those core competencies, or some optional competencies which I had mentioned earlier. Could be programming and planning also, or sustainability, or risk management, demonstrating your professionalism and ability to perform and solve. Remember that in case studies, you don't have to put in every competency that we talked of. Maybe 5-6 competencies or 4-5 competencies are good enough for case study, because you can't bring out all the competencies in the last 2 years. Your role will not dictate that. And the basic structure is that the content sheet, then there's an introduction, then you give my approach, then my achievements, then conclusion and appendices. The introduction is generally 500 words, and each of those portions there are a number of words which are given. What is your role? What is your level of responsibility? Who are the stakeholders in the project? What are the timelines? What is the type of contract? All these are given in the first part of 500 words. And then accordingly, in the my approach, you have to give what challenges you are facing, what were the options available to you, and how did you solve those? If anybody particular option you don't want to select, why not? Which is the option you selected, and what are the reasons for selection? Then what are your achievements? Another group of heading is there. It relates to competencies and what advice you are able to give. The conclusion of the case study is basically learning, lessons which are learned. How would you do it differently? You can attach appendices, competencies demonstrated in Appendix A, and any illustrations, photographs in Appendix B and C. So it's a document by itself. The document is good and has got everything that they're looking for. This is basically the heart of your RICS assessment. They are looking at how good is your case study. And then we come to the role of the counselor. Your counselor, who should be a chartered surveyor with good experience. He plays a very important role in your presentation for MRICS, like a guide or a mentor who makes your journey without tears, fruitful and safe. But the contribution by your counselor depends more on you, your due diligence and application of theoretical knowledge to your work. Submission of your various documents will bear fruit only if these have been duly checked, verified and vetted by the counselor on a regular basis. It cannot be done at the last minute when you are nearing the deadline. So, to make your journey without tears, you plan your efforts systematically like you plan your project. You get the timely inputs and act on the feedback that the counselor gives you. Let us look at the quick role of the counselor. Now, suppose he's supposed to monitor or she's supposed to monitor your progress. Will need to continually see how you are doing it. You will not be able to apply for final assessment until your counselor or supervisor certifies that, in their opinion, you have reached the level of competence required, the minimum training required. Also, your experience will be checked, that you have suitable experience to demonstrate the achievement of the required levels in the selected competency. Counselor may not have personal knowledge of the candidate's experience in all the chosen competencies, as they may have achieved some of them number of years ago and possibly in a different job. So he or she must gain knowledge of candidate's work. This knowledge may be built up through discussion, questioning with the candidate and any previous employers where possible. Preliminary interview is also done, or preliminary review is done before they submit their documents, that you are confident and in the candidate's skills and ability, and that their submission meets the stated requirement. The counselor also has a role in terms of what is the approach. Need to understand how they can apply their experience in the competencies and establish if they need to enhance any of their experience. Suppose there is a shortfall in particular type of experience. The approach should be to review their experience and plan any development through CPD before they begin to prepare their submissions. The activities could be, like career, role and relevant experience. Discuss the candidate's career and role and experience vis-a-vis chosen pathway. They have to be aligned with the pathway. It cannot be that you go for project management but you've never done the project. Or you only done construction but you have not handled a project. Handling a project and handling of construction are two different things. So it should reflect the work that the candidate does in their day-to-day environment, and it is reviewed. Self-assessment is done with the candidate and review their self-assessment with the core and optional competencies of chosen pathway. Accordingly, then it is decided that you agree the most appropriate way of gaining necessary experience where any competency shortfall is found. And CPD, discuss the candidate's CPD achieved during the last 12 months and agree for future if there is any shortfall. And documents are also supposed to be seen. Regularly meet and review the progress of all the competencies and the development of the submission. And case study, discuss the case study. What project have they worked on in the last 24 months that best demonstrates their analytical ability and ability to give sound advice. These are some of the important things that a counselor is supposed to do. So what we'll do is, we'll take on the questions towards the end. We will now discuss the career progression in the next 5 minutes. So before I invite the other panel members, let me see what I have to say on this. Now, at the outset, we have to accept that the MRICS designation has a global footprint. While in India, we may lay a lot of stress on undergraduate degrees and postgraduate degrees, it is not so in many countries abroad. Greater reliance is placed on multinational companies in the field of construction on your level of professional competence, and this is judged by a Chartered Surveyor designation, that is MRICS. Okay. Now, what is required? that you could be doing private practice, you could be working for a developer, or you could be working for a public sector. You could be working for a contractor, which would be domestic contractor, international contractor, specialist contractor, or subcontractor. So these are some of the areas where a person may be working on. Or you could be working in fields of preparation of feasibility studies, DPRs, project appraisals, assessing a capital and revenue expenditure, whole life costing. You may be setting up budgets, advise on that, advise on procurement and tendering, monitoring and development, contractual documents. So these are some of the areas in which a person with MRICS qualification based on the pathway will be working. And cost control, management or commercial success for a contractor, valuation and interim payments, billing, contracting, contract management, dispute avoidance, negotiations, mediations, arbitration. These are some of the areas where your experience or skills will be needed, and accordingly we will be able to do it. So now let us go on to the panel, and I request Mr. Kumar Ratna and Saroj Kumar to please come up. I hope I have not gone wrong in the name.
Yes, yes, sir. Before we start the panel discussion, I would like to address Mr. Priyanka Karunaratna. He is an MRICS and MSc QS from UK, APAWE from UK, ex-president of Sri Lankan QS. I would like to request Mr. Priyanka to share some experience how candidates can progress their career through this MRICS or QS path.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I am audible. Am I audible to you, all of you?
Yes, yes.
Okay. First and foremost, thank you very much for the introduction, and I'm so much. I'm very much pleased to see Mr. Vinod Nakra. Thank you very much for your session. I have seen the latter part of that one. Unfortunately, I was tied up with something, but it was very useful to the newcomers. And thank you, Alpha. And then yes, regarding RICS. About decades back, I was also like you, a fresh graduate, right? Maybe some of you have already attained a lot of experience in the field, not just fresh graduates. And I was just thinking about a career progression, right? If I share my story, I am sure that definitely it will inspire you to become a chartered quantity surveyor. I was basically an engineer, right? Hailing from Sri Lanka, a civil engineer. And after a while, I moved to Oman, right? Middle East, right? Just as a quantity surveyor. Just as a quantity surveyor, my engineering background helped me a lot in order to cultivate the quantity surveying practice in the market because they were going hand in hand. So it doesn't necessarily mean that if you are an engineer or you're coming from an engineering background that you cannot become a chartered quantity surveyor. That barrier is gone, right? So when you are coming in with respect to becoming a chartered quantity surveyor, one of the most important things is to cultivate certain core values within you. So when you cultivate those core values, that is showcased within your character, that is showcased within your experience, and the way that you behave will be observed by the people. So when you're talking about those core values, actually RICS have nicely narrated that into actually summarized that into 6 areas, right? The 6 areas, I used to call it RICS HR. I'll tell you what exactly it is. Those are the 6 core principles of being an ethical person, right? So you can gain everything from your universities or your educational institutions pertaining to your subject area, but you cannot become an ethical person until and unless you follow a set of rules and you live up to it, and then you become a particular person that who is following that particular path, right? So RICS HR, what is meant by that one is actually the 4 significant letters, right? RICS, actually it represents, this is how I interpret this one. It starts with your responsibility. Responsibility is one of your core values in RICS ethical principles. And then it moves on to the integrity. I told R, I told I. And then you have to have some sort of a competence and you provide a service. So that is RICS, right? Responsibility, integrity, competence, and the service that you are providing to the society, right? So you can gain these particular aspects very easily by becoming a chartered quantity surveyor. But would that suffice? It will not be, because that is what the rest of the RICS core principles, which is meant as HR, will give you, right? What is HR? That is honesty and the respect. Just does not mean that you gain certain competence, that you gain certain expertise within this particular area, that you do not respect your fellow members, you do not respect other professions, you do not respect the other ideas, right? Apart from that, you have to be a very honest person, that most of the professionals are yet to, they are struggling to get this particular honesty, and we have to be the people who are honest and respectful to the others. Then this world will become a very great place. So just becoming a chartered quantity surveyor with knowledge and experience would not suffice. This ethical background definitely put you in a position which is higher than the rest of the people in the market. So this is what the identity of RICS will give you. This is what the emblem of RICS will give you. I think that will be a very good start in order for you to become a chartered quantity surveyor. I think that would suffice. Saroj, I would like to hear your ideas as well.
Thank you, Mr. Priyanka. We have Mr. Saroj Kumar Singh. A quick introduction for him. He is Mr. Saroj Kumar Singh. He is also an MRICS, an APC assessor and counselor, and the director of Alpha Consulting Engineers Pvt Limited. So I would request Mr. Saroj Kumar Singh to share some views on this topic. Please share.
Thank you, Navomita. Thank you, Pati. I would like to today. And thank you, Priyanka, for joining and sharing your insight. So, as far as career progression is concerned, MRICS has largely contributed to the career progression of candidates all around the globe. MRICS is the most after-sought qualification by the employers, not only in India, but all across the globe. It's the trademark of excellence and competencies. So, there are many organizations, those who are investing a handsome money on candidates, on their employees to get them certified as a chartered professional. Why? It is only because there is a demand of chartered professionals from the client. Every premium client today is looking for a chartered professional or certified professionals on board to look after their project. All those people who have a good knowledge of international forms of contracts or international standards and procedures, that sort of candidates are generally preferred by client to work. So that there is a need to upgrade themselves as a chartered professionals if they really want to get a competitive advantage over other people. The qualification, this chartered qualifications, it will generally set a candidate apart from the crowd. So if we look at people holding leadership position in construction industry, we can see that most of them have chartered qualification, whether they are holding membership of RICS or fellowship of RICS. So if someone wants to reach to that level of leadership position or seniority, so he has to be the same. He has to do the same what they have done in the past. We have to follow their footsteps to reach where they have reached. So upgrading yourself is very, very important to rise to that level. The career progression is directly linked with the employability, right? Because employability cannot increase with the existing skill sets and knowledge. The construction industry is changing dynamically. It's changing every day almost. So we have to change with the change. Say, if I talk about quantity survey, the nature and scope of this profession has largely changed over the year. It has gone beyond the territory of quantification, estimation, and costing. But today, a quantity surveyor, as Vinod sir already mentioned, they have different avenues and different roles and responsibilities to take in a project. Like a quantity surveyor today can play an important role in the feasibility part of a project. He can be a feasibility expert, or adjudication expert, or risk management expert, and there are many more avenues, many more career aspects for a chartered quantity surveyor. So it's a huge prospect and huge career progression that is waiting. Hence, at Alpha, we are supporting construction professionals to upgrade themselves according to the industry need. We have APC program already in place where we are coaching and training candidates for this MRICS program. And other than this APC, we have advanced quantity surveying program lined up this year for providing quality education and make this candidates industry ready. So this year, 2023, Alpha has lined up many programs to upgrade you. So connect with us and keep yourself updated and informed. So I wish you all the best, and let's make this year together a grand success. So over to you, Naomi.
Thank you very much, Saroj. And I think participants are now full of courage and they had lots of information from the three masters. And I should over to Sir now, to Vinod Sir now. Should we go for the Q&A session, Sir?
Yeah, thank you. Just a moment. I think I wish to thank Priyanka Karna for taking time off. I believe he was very busy, and I really feel that he has hit the nail on the head when he talked about the most important requirements that are expected of a quantity surveyor. We should be seen apart from the rest of the construction professionals, because the stress is a lot on the ethical practices, taking responsibility, showing integrity, and having the competencies and the professionalism in the service that we provide, high degree of, excellence, and of course the honesty and the respect that he highlighted, which are at the heart of how RICS is different from the rest of the organizations, and which is also lacking in many professionals today, and they are much maligned engineers who may be seen not to be honest or not to be so involved in the career. So sky is the limit as far as the professional growth is concerned. Many of the project managers or directors are actually RICS qualified. In any global environment, if you go and see, they're all looking for these qualifications because they give you the edge which other qualifications may not give you. You may be a PhD, but you still don't have the kind of requirements that are industry needed. So very nicely brought out by Saroj and Priyanka. That is why I said that I made a special request for this panel to be there so that the participants can get a good idea. Now, if we have some time, maybe another 5 minutes, I think we are already overshooting. If we have 5 minutes, we can take some burning questions which are not repetitive, and other questions we can answer through email. So, Namamita, please see if there are any more questions which we can answer. Yeah.
One question is there from Raba. He's asking, he's living in Dubai. He has working experience before graduation as civil engineer and non-accredited degree, and totally he has 5 years of experience. Then after accreditation he has 10 years of experience and he has graduated now. The total experience is in QS. What will be the best route for him?
He can easily go for senior professional route if it is more than 10 years. But generally they say more than 10 years is postgraduate degree. So if it is less than 10 years, then the person may have to go through APC because as I understand from the question, the person has got some experience before degree. So that will not be counted towards the senior professional route. Okay. So it is better that a person goes for APC pathway, APC route, and quantity survey and construction pathway is ideal, and depending upon the submissions that the person can make based on the role that has been played and the experience, relevant experience, his application should be processed accordingly. Training.
Okay. Another question, he has not mentioned his name. He's asking, he has done his BE on civil engineering in September 2022 from Pakistan, PEC recognized degree. He has no experience in the field of, he has no field experience because he is a fresh civil engineer.
He has to have
But
5 years of experience. 5
but
years.
he has 4 years of teaching experience.
Okay. Now, I believe he's a graduate.
Yes, he is yes, graduate civil engineer.
Now, as I mentioned in one of the charts, if they can recall what charts I showed, for a graduate engineer, if a person has only academic experience, then you require, certain number of years, which I think is short. There's a shortfall in that. But if his degree is only 22, then he cannot be in the senior professional route, because there also the minimum requirement is 10 years and 5 years. 10 years is for graduate and 5 years is for postgraduate. So he is a graduate of 22, so he will not fit into this. But if he has got a RICS accredited degree, then after some years, the number of years I mentioned in my initial slides, then he can do it. Otherwise, he will not be able to qualify for this. So what I'll advise is that a person should gain more experience in academic line. If the person is doing academic or postgraduate qualification should be attempted. And then after postgraduate qualification, 5 years of teaching experience after post-graduation, the person can apply, or the person should go and get some experience outside. So minimum 5 years of experience after degree is necessary. So 27, till 27 that person has to gain experience, and then the person can easily go for APC. So these are the two options.
We have received a very important question from Avis. He is asking, where do the most candidates fail to pass the MRICS? Like, what is the most critical item that candidates need to focus on?
Okay, I'll try and explain that. Now, first is that if the person has got the right qualification and experience, then basically the submissions that are made based on the experience that a person has got, the focus is more on the level 3 competencies, which means ability to give advice in a particular area. Now, if that advice is not capability of giving advice is not there, then he not achieve level 3. So one of the places where a person may not be able to successfully qualify is achieving level 3, which comes with experience, which comes with the role, and which comes with the ability to solve a problem and come out with a solution, which has to do with the competencies which are expected in that particular pathway. So my short answer is that you should be capable of solving some problem that you came across while you are putting a case study. And the second is the case study itself has to be strong enough. The language in the case study, the way you express your written effort, and showcase that in the interview itself. That person might have a lot of experience but is not able to express orally in 10 minutes time what competencies he or she has achieved, and not be able to answer or understand what is the competency meaning. The words are not good enough. You should know what exactly it means, and then only you will be able to explain. When you say quantification and costing, you should be able to give examples of how that person has been able to, do before procurement, before any tendering is done, after tendering is done, how the estimates are refined and prepared, and how measurements are done, how billing is done, and how the various invoices are generated. So these are very important requirements. So all of these core competencies, which are level 3, which are mentioned in the technical competencies for quantity surveying route, are very important. So a person might not be able to, showcase those in writing as well as orally. So these are the 2 areas where people have to, focus, I would say.
Sir, we have lots of questions, but I think we are running out of time. So
Okay.
we can, we can do one thing, like take the questions through emails, and later for one-to-one session we can invite them, or maybe by email we can answer them.
What's the number finally who attended the session? Navamita?
Number is more than 65.
Okay. Okay. Okay then. Thank you very much, all of you, for
Yes.
taking time off, and to Navamita, Saroj, and Priyanka, Karna.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Keep in touch
Thank
with
you
me,
for-
Priyanka.
Yeah, definitely, Mr. Vinod. Thank you very much. It's very nice to meet you, and thanks for the valuable session. I'm sure that everybody has got a very good insight about RICS. Thank you.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I think all the participants have got their answered, and they have the overview. And I would request all the participants to participate on the feedback. Please rate us, because your response will be for our understanding how we can help you. Please rate us properly, and write to us at support@alphapmc.com. You can connect to our mentors through their LinkedIn profile. Also, you can follow us, our LinkedIn page, Alpha Consulting Engineers. We have our page on LinkedIn, and also you can visit to know more about us through www.alphapmc.com. Thank you.
Thank you.